Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My next guest needs almost no introduction, but in case you don't know, this is Sebastian St. Louis, and he is the CEO of the Hydropothecary Corporation, currently trading under the symbol THCX on the TSX Venture. And when do you think that's going to be the TSX Senior Board?
We should be live on TSX in May, James.
Sebastian, you guys have been achieving some incredible milestones, even by the standards of the cannabis industry. Most remarkably, the government of Quebec's Liquor Control Board, SAQ, has decided to award you a 5-year offtake agreement. I understand the first year is guaranteed and the 4 years dependent on some parameters. But correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 billion or more?
Well, we're 203,000 kilograms, and our first year pricing, we're estimating based on product mix at $5.40. You take a conservative approach, $5, you get over $1 billion in revenue for 5 years.
Pretty quickly. That's astounding. So the question is, and I know the answer, but perhaps the audience doesn't. The question is, are you going to be able to meet the demand that comes from SAQ over the 5 years?
Absolutely. And I think the market has priced that execution risk way higher than it actually is. So
they haven't been there.
Well, that's the thing. They need to come out and see the facility, but we're getting the message.
Right.
We are very proud of the team. We announced in October that we were going to complete a 250,000 square foot greenhouse by July. I'm ahead of schedule by a month and a week. Plants are going in this May 20th. And that facility will be up and rip-roaring, full production, 25,000 kilograms a year starting August 1st. And of course, as we already have this purchase order, we know what we need to ship for the first 3 months to the SQDC. And as such, we have everything we need in inventory.
That's interesting. I'm curious as to why did the SAQ, they awarded other ACMPR growers much smaller allocations of offtake. Why did they give you such a big position relative to what the others got?
I think there's a couple variety of factors. I think the most important one is that Hydropothecary first took a risk and committed to Quebec. And the Quebec government and the SQDC, along with seeing our good products and our appropriate cost and our responsible distribution, said, well, listen, Hydropothecary put their foot forward when we committed back in November to supply Quebec as our primary market, the first market we were going to supply, Quebec marijuana grown in Quebec, and committing $130 million of capital to that project before we had a contract. So I think that really resulted in the government turning around and saying, yeah, listen, these guys are willing to put us first, so we'll put Hydropothecary first as preferred supplier for 5 years.
Sure. And a fund manager who we had in earlier today who picked Hydropothecary as his top pick, he opined that it was because you didn't hold the government's feet to the fire in terms of getting a pre-committed price out of them, which is what opened up their willingness to give you such a big allocation. You think that had anything to do with it?
Well, I think that's part of acting like a trusted partner. And we have, we're from Quebec. We're headquartered in Quebec. Our employees are from Quebec. And so we want to treat that as our beachhead and as our primary province and as a good trusted partner. So we tried to be very friendly in our approach, and in turn that's created a great relationship.
Right. You also won 2 prizes at the recent LIFT Awards, and one was for your decarboxylized marijuana powder, I guess is for the want of a better descriptor, which can now be used as a bioavailable ingredient in foods and beverages. And then for your elixir, which is derived from your extracts. Now, to me, this demonstrates a level of innovation and forward thinking in the consumer product category, and I'm wondering if you have any other products or innovations like that in the future that we can be on the lookout for.
Well, James, there's so much development to do in cannabis. And for Hydropothecary, the holy grail and what we're driving towards is to be able to give an adult consumer experience of a high in 5 minutes and to get them sober in an hour. That's the holy grail. And we've been driving towards that. And we started with an edible cannabis, our decarb product, so non-smoked. And now we've achieved with Elixir, for example, 20-minute onset.
Right.
And you start to see the effects wear off in 3 to 4 hours. So as we keep developing, especially with water-soluble technologies, and we're about 80% of the way there as we're working towards these, I think in the next 3 to 5 years, it's possible to get to that 5-minute high, hour sober product.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's actually more controllable than even alcohol.
Well, if we're successful in what we're trying to do, that's certainly the goal, as we want to see more than simply, we've seen upon legalization about 15% displacement of alcohol. I think once we nail this product, we can see much more disruption than that.
Okay. You're currently enjoying a near monopoly in the province of Quebec as the first major Quebec grower. Do you think that the increased competition as a result of some of the other ACMPRs making moves into Quebec are going to be representative of some risk to your dominant position in Quebec going forward?
So not really. And the reason for that is I think that we're already starting to really see a bifurcation between the licensed producers that can do distribution at mass scale and innovate new products like Hydropothecary and like our other 5 competitors that have been selected by the government of Quebec. So although Hydropothecary controls 35% of the Quebec market share, which translates to about 8% on a Canadian level, there certainly are other of our friendly competitors alongside us, and I congratulate them for their participation. But to displace the 6 names that are there today, including Hydropothecary, is going to be very difficult. I mean, we're locked in for 5 years. Our competitors are locked in for 3. So the 7th competitor, really, I mean, they need to get in line. And unless there's a major change, the selection has been done for the next 3 years.
Sure. One of the things that I haven't seen in Hydropothecary's sort of news flow or strategic sort of planning, I'm wondering, is there any desire or initiative or plan to go international?
Yeah, we're looking at international as the third pillar in our distribution strategy. So we want to go really deep, then wide into our markets. So we're starting with Quebec. We're going to be launching Ontario, Alberta, and BC with a limited offering initially of Elixir-only products. So this allows us to multiply supply and really make sure that we can maintain a good quality service into those provinces for the first 6 months. Then as more of our production comes online in December, and our production actually goes up to 108 metric tons of product, then we'll be able to do a full suite offering into Ontario, Alberta, BC, and Quebec. If we're successful in doing that for 3 years, 3 years out, we look like a major player in Canada. We have distribution across the country. We have even more innovative products, and then we're truly a brand. And that should line up with the beginning of adult use legalization in other major markets, such as Germany, Australia, Denmark, or wherever else in the world with federal programs. At that point, our plan is to take that brand and to lever the product portfolio and brand value to go partner in JV with international partners to take market share in those markets.
So you have thought about it.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. If one was to say, and it's not easy to surmise. In fact, the analyst in question that we had in here earlier today suggested that your share price is undervalued. I'm not looking for an opinion from you in that respect, but do you think that the price of your shares make you an in view of the SAQ offtake agreement, do you think that makes you an attractive takeout candidate from one of the larger ACMPR growers?
Yeah, James, I think regardless of the share price, when you start to look at the market and you say, okay, well, Eastern Canada is now allocated, Quebec is allocated to 6 names, and there's a couple other markets that still have to allocate, but there's over a third of this country's market share has been allocated for the next couple of years. That's gone. So regardless of share price, at some point you've got to be asking, if you want to participate in Quebec and the Eastern markets, well, Eastern markets, there's a couple names to look at, but Quebec, there's really only one, and it's Hydropothecary.
Sure. So is that to say that management would be open to a buyout offer if the price was right?
Everything is for sale at the right price, James. I really hope we don't sell. I hope that our management team continues to run this company as we strive towards becoming that multinational P&G cannabis $30 billion plus company. I think the next 10 years are going to be tremendously exciting. With that in mind, we're open to strategics. We're talking to a lot, whether it's generic pharma, big alcohol. There's a lot of interest going around, but the trick is to find the right deal, and that may look more like partnerships than a straight buyout. And so we're keeping all options on the table.
All right, Sebastian, that's a great update. We're going to leave it there. Thanks for coming in again.
Thanks for having me.